Shalom, shalom, Israel. It's brother Ishmael coming back with our next quick video through the Spirit. Right? Want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Right? Yahweh being who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahushai being who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Right? So today's video, we're going into walking in the Spirit. Right? We want to be walking in the Spirit in these last days. Right? Because if we're not walking in the Spirit in these last days, right, we will catch ourselves going off. Right? So we want to be walking in the Spirit. Right? So we go to Galatians 5 and verse 22. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 5 and verse 22. Right? Say, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Right, so we're gonna be moving in the Spirit, right? You wanna be examining ourselves to see if we're moving in the Spirit, right? You wanna examine ourselves to see if our actions, right, is portraying these things, right? We want to examine ourselves to see, well, all right, how am I moving through the Spirit, right? So it's it, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, right? We want to be having that love, right, for our Israelite brothers and sisters, you understand? Joy, right? We want to be serving the Lord with joy, right? Peace, understand? Be at peace with all men, right? Long suffering, right? Because we know that this thing not going to be a walk in the park, right? Sometimes we going to get frustrated, right? Sometimes you will feel stressful when all hell breaking loose, right? Again, that's just moving in the Spirit, moving in the right Spirit, right? Moving, right? In the fruits of the Spirit, right? So it's a gentleness, right? You don't want to be hard and rough all the time, you understand? You want to be like a lion, right? As I tell you, as well how we don't want to be like a lion in your household, right? I mean, I'm not saying to be soft and mushy and effeminate, but you know how to understand and same, right? Have that balance. Say goodness, right? Faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law, right? So you wanna check ourselves to see if we're moving in the Spirit, right? This is the book of Romans 8 and verse 5. Right? Only read to 7. Right? This is the book of Romans 8 and verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. Right? So, telling you if you, in other words, moving in the flesh, you would do things of the flesh. Right? If you, in other words, moving carnally, right, you would do things that is pleasing to the flesh. Right? It say, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. So, therefore, if we moving in the Spirit, right, if we moving in the right Spirit, right, we would be doing the things, right? My bad. We would be, in other words, bringing forth the fruits of the Spirit, right? Verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace, right? So you don't want to be moving carnally all day, just thinking everything all plain and simple, understand? Because it say to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So therefore, you want to have that spiritual mindset, right? Especially when we out and about, you understand? Because you never know, like, what could happen, you understand? So you want to be moving in the right spirit, right? You want to be having that spiritual mindset, so therefore you could discern certain things. Verse 7, because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, for it is not subject to the law of the Most High, neither indeed can be. So somebody that have a carnal mind, understand? It's a for Salakia, because because the carnal mind is enmity against the Most High, for it is not subject to the law. So therefore, a carnal person wouldn't take heed to the law, right? Neither indeed can be, right? So therefore, A carnal person would be moving in the flesh, you understand? They wouldn't be, in other words, they can heed to the laws, statutes, and commandments. So we want to see if we're moving according to the fruits of the spirit or if we're moving according to the flesh. Right? And as I said before, in these last days, we want to be moving in the fruits of the spirit. All right? Go to Hebrews 11 and verse 24. All right, so it's book of Hebrews 11 and verse 24. All right, it says, by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Therefore, if we move on in the flesh, right, we would think upon doing the acts of the flesh. That would be what? Sin. So therefore, we would be sinning, right? We would be, in other words, getting the pleasures of sin for a season, meaning it's temporary, right? So therefore, that feeling that you're getting to go off, you understand? And then now, when you go off, right, and in other words, you feel sort of way because trust me, when you go off, right, it's feel off. So therefore, that feeling, you understand? When you thinking that, alright, let me just do this one time, you understand? It's say by faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High and to enjoy pleasures of sin for a season. So we don't want to enjoy that temporary feeling, right? Because with that temporary feeling also comes death, because the wages of sin is death. So therefore, when we sin and that temporary, in other words, you might feel, I mean, a wicked person would feel good, right? But just for a season, because why? That coming after, right? So verse 26, esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. So therefore he was, in other words, you rather suffer the affliction now and reap that greater reward later than to make it easy now. Understand? And it's just temporary, right? So, in other words, we want to suffer the affliction now and reap that greater reward later on, Lord's willing. Understand? Than to be in pleasure now in this wicked world. Understand? And after it comes death, right? So, as I said before, right? In Galatians 5, right, with the fruits of the Spirit, right? It's a long suffering as well. So, you rather be long suffering now than to be in pleasure now in this wicked world and then that come after. And if you be long suffering now through the Spirit, right, Lord's will, in time to come, right, you will reap that reward, right, Lord's willing, right. Look at Sirach 27 and verse 11. It's the book of Sirach 27 and verse 11, right. It say, the discourse of a godly man is always with wisdom, but a fool changeth as the moon. Right? If thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. So, it's with you that you want to be amongst godly men, because if you're amongst godly men, right, or men of understanding, right, you would be moving in the spirit, because in other words, these men would be moving in the spirit, right? Once is upright brothers, right, and therefore that would have you moving in the spirit. But if you're amongst worldly men, right, that would have you being worldly, right? That would have you being moving in the flesh. Understand? So they say the discourse of a godly man is always with wisdom. So therefore, a righteous man would always speak wisdom, right? But a fool change it as the moon, right? Say, if thou be among the indiscreet, observe the times. So therefore, if you're among men without understanding, right? If you're among men of the world, right? Observe the time, meaning make it short. Understand? Don't like stick around all the time, all day. Understand? Observe the time, right? All right, um, like you might meet some brothers from the world, right? Like, all right, cool, how you going, whatever. You understand? But observe the time, right? Don't stay there and linger around, because who knows, right? What could happen? So, observe the time and you keep it moving, right? But be continually among men of understanding, because if you're among men of understanding, you would be moving in the spirit, right? And we want to be moving in the spirit and not moving in the flesh, right? Into Sirach 33 and verse 14. Right? It's because Sirach 33 and verse 14. It says, good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. Right? So good is set against evil. Right? You see, it's one against another. Right? To have male, to have female. Understand? So there's a balance in this thing. So it's a good against evil and life against death. Right? So so is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. So therefore, so is the spirit and the flesh, right? And therefore, what the scriptures say about um the spirit against the flesh. Understand? So we want to be moving in the spirit and not fulfilling the lust of the flesh, right? Let me go to Galatians 5 and verse 16. That as well tying into being amongst, right, worldly men, right, and being among men of understanding, right, as you know went into, as it say, observe the time when you're amongst the indiscreet, you understand? But be among men of understanding, so is the godly man against the sinner, right? Mhm. Galatians 5 and 16, right? This is in book of Galatians 5 and verse 16. Right. He said, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Therefore, if we walk in the spirit, right, we wouldn't fulfill the lust of the flesh. And so we gotta keep checking ourselves, examining ourselves to see if we're moving in the spirit. Right? Not saying that we're perfect and we'll always be in spirit, but we want to try to be perfect. You understand? We want to strive to be perfect, because I tell you, a just man falleth 7 times, and 7 means completion, right? But get up again, right? And I keep striving to be perfect, right? Verse 17, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, right? So it's one against another, right? Same way as his life against death, good against evil, right? The godly against the sinner, right? So is the spirit, right, against the flesh, understand? So it's like a war, right? And we want to pick the good side, right? We want to pick the winning side, because therefore the flesh we know is the losing side, because that is temporary. You understand? But we know the spirit is forever, right? Say, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that he cannot do the things that he would. Right? So therefore, spirit against the flesh. For the flesh would want to do all manner of wickedness, right? Lust, understand? And the spirit, right? Striving for us to do the right thing, understand? Striving for us to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments is a fight, right? We go to Deuteronomy 30 and verse 9. Right? It's the book of Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19. So like right? Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, right? Blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. Right? So the last precept I'll close off with is Deuteronomy 30 and 9, right? And we rather choose life, right? Don't matter how much obstacles come at us, right? Don't matter how much demons come at us, right? We want to keep fighting, and as I said before, choose the winning side, which is the spirit, right? So let me just bring this out again. It says, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, and that both thou and thy seed may live. Right? So if we choose life, you understand, choose the spirit and not the flesh, you understand, we would live. Right? So that, God's willing, is your Lord satisfied. right? That shalom.